Welcome to Key Conversations, a Making It in the Music Business podcast. My goal for this podcast is to help you learn from these conversations with both experts and working musicians and serve as a guide to assist your career in the process. I'm your host, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. Let's get going. Welcome back to another musician edition of Key Conversations, where we are featuring a hardworking musician who's creating her dream career. She's also open to a little guidance and brave enough to be here in my hot seat. So I am so excited to welcome Leslie Barth here, who is a newly full-time musician. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're a singer-songwriter. So I'm so happy to have you here, especially you just told me day 2 of full-time musician land.
Yep. Yeah, I was working up until Wednesday last week. And so this is my first week of self-employment.
Oh my, well, welcome to the madhouse.
Yeah.
Slash freedom.
Yeah.
Slash. There's so many slashes.
Yeah. All the things.
All the things. So this is so great because I know that there are a lot of musicians out there who are in that full-time looking to be either part-time or looking to be no more full-time work. So how did you do it? What was the process of deciding that the job was going to be done, and how did you transition to where you are today?
So I worked in the tech field. I would work doing sales training for software sales representatives. And I did that for a while. And I sort of came to it through being an executive assistant, which is a very musician job. It's a very good day job. You can kind of get your work done and then leave. And got promoted into doing more of sales training. And that's not really the kind of work you can leave at home very easily. So I learned a ton while I was doing it, but it became pretty clear quickly that it wasn't sustainable to have that on top of what I was doing in music. And I decided, okay, I need to figure out a plan to step out of this. And that's going to kind of leave me at a place further along than I would have been otherwise, take advantage of some of the things that I can get while at this tech company. And so I started saving, and that's definitely like a huge part of the freedom to leave, because I know that, depending on what business you're in, a lot of the advice for entrepreneurs is like save 60 or, get to the point where you're making about 60, 70% of your day job income from your new business before you leap. And I was like, that's not gonna happen. It's tech world and like singer songwriter. So, and it was full on to the point where, getting a lot of income streams happening, especially around kind of live and touring, wasn't very feasible. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to build my business to the point where I can just kind of hop off and seamlessly run with it. So saving was the plan. So I did that for a bit. And then last August, I went part-time at work. I sort of was a bit of a Hail Mary because I was ready to leave if they weren't open to part-time, but they were, which was really wonderful. And that allowed me to kind of adjust to working for myself, and still make a bit of an income, still be saving a little bit, but start to transition away. So when it came down to making the decision of like, when do I go? And I've told the story a few times to people. So hopefully it makes more sense this time around than the first time when I was like, I don't know, I just knew. But it was sort of that feeling. One day in my gut, I think I delivered a big project. So there was this big piece of work that was done, and new things were starting up where I was going to be having a lot of responsibility over new projects. And in my gut, I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this part-time. I don't think that's going to work for the business. And full-time is not an option for me. So in my gut, just felt, okay, I have to quit. That was all I could hear. And I think I just reached the point where I was not getting out of it as much as I was putting into it. And I had known that, I'd saved enough to not have to immediately freak out about money. But 2 days in, I basically have to freak out about money.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And doing my taxes too was very eye-opening. I was like, nothing in this tax return suggests that I should be doing this from a financial standpoint.
Well, you have a little time to have those things start to show up. And I definitely used all of the time allotted to me as a freelancer to think you have, is it 3? It used to be 7. It might be 3 years to prove that the thing that you're writing off, if you have all the more losses than income, um,
Yeah.
you have that much time to prove that it is that you are not just doing it as a hobby, essentially.
Yeah. I think it's 3 out of 5 years you have to have a
That's it.
profit.
Yeah. And I think that might
So
change
I'm on the cusp. It might. Yeah. I haven't looked into the new changes, but
you're on the cusp.
I'm
Well,
on the cusp.
great. So I love that. And I love that you trusted yourself. And I think that, a circumstance showed itself, and it was, we all have circumstances all the time, every day, whether you're freelance or not. And it's sort of what voice are you listening to in your head in the face of that circumstance? And, you could have had the, I'll just do it voice, and that wouldn't have been empowering. But I'm glad that that other one was nice and strong. So
Yeah.
congratulations. I'm
Thank you.
very excited for you. So tell me the things that are going on for your music career. Like I know you have a record out. You already mentioned that you play live a lot. So tell me what's the snapshot right now of your music.
So I put out an album, like a full studio album that I crowdfunded last January. And then I did essentially a stripped down version of that same album in December of last year, where I recorded kind of, I think, an acoustic or Fender Rhodes, depending on the tune, just like solo instrument and voice. And we filmed it too. And actually, just yesterday, I got all the edits done. So I've got videos now from that session that I'm going to be promoting. And I'm working on some new songs, going to work on a new single with a friend of mine. And this was where I think the whole, I'm making a lot more financial decisions now that it is my one source of income. And so I worked at a barter that I'm doing PR and marketing for her band, and they're tracking my single. So we just, put together like a proposal, like tried to work backwards and understand what I should be charging. That was like a whole process. And then I looked at what I was going to charge them, and I thought, I'd rather get a single that I can promote out of this.
Mm.
So I'm going to work on that. A lot of new songs. Whether or not I release them more as singles or build up to an album, I don't know. I want to be touring. I This July I'm going on tour with 2 friends of mine, and it's called the Let's Get Real Tour. So if you go to letsgetrealtour.com, you can read about it. But we're just trying to understand and talk about what it means to be a musician and creative person in like a digital world, and what it means to kind of be real when like all of our interactions are kind of online. We just I met both of them at the CD Baby DIY Musician Conference, and we hit it off and started having this conversation. And so we're going to go do a tour in July. But now looking at my calendar, I'm like, I think I might try to fill up May and June because it's pretty open.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. You just said so many like golden nuggets. The first one being the bartering for what is it that you really need right now, and what skill set do you have that you normally or in the world would charge for. So
Yeah.
I love that you're like, yeah, I can do social media, and just turning that into a partnership is so great, and so great for them. And then, but you're getting this track out of it, which might be super easy for them to do because that might, if that's their thing. And I think that's like how we start to make it, and that you're having conversations at conferences and meeting people and finding where you're aligned. And I personally love the whole how to be real in the digital age. It's like sort of becoming my thing too, specifically over email. I'm geeking out this year on emails and how to
Yeah.
do that for real, and like not be salesy and weird, but tell your story, but then also say, yeah, I have this thing that I'm selling you. Do you want it? And like being real about it, because that's how we live. So
It's so funny. Yeah, I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine. Sorry to interrupt just on this topic, because I also have a Patreon, and I think everything I'm doing now is really about that, and it's about driving that.
great.
And I have to send out, we have an accountability call, a friend of mine and I, and she's the one I'm also doing the bartering with. And I told her, I want to have my I want to have this newsletter written by today that I would send out to everybody about quitting my job. And I got on and I told her, I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't have anything important to say about it yet. I'm really confused. And she's like, no, no, what you're going to do is just like send out a very straightforward, hey, I quit my job. I don't really know how I'm feeling about this yet, but if you want to support me financially, like go to Patreon, which is ending up being basically what I'm going to send out. But I really struggled to see that before she like kind of told to me like it was. She's like, you're not going to have this all figured out, and
Yeah,
you have to ask for help.
I love that. And the little procrastination, I feel like might be the second you send it out to your fans and it's like really real.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's
Oh, for
real.
sure. Oh, for
Then
sure.
yeah, I get
Like,
that.
I could still take this back, I could still.
Yeah, announcing release dates for CDs means you have to like all you're one of my favorite things about my email list is they hold me accountable. Like
Yeah.
they and I haven't been thinking of them as accountability partners, but they kind of are because they want to see me succeed. They're still there receiving emails from me. They want to see you succeed, right? So
Yeah.
there's that little extra put it out there. If you're being really transparent with your list and you have that kind of relationship, then when there's something that's like going down and you say it, then it's real. So I get the
Yeah.
hesitation, and it's a really great opportunity because you are focusing on Patreon, which I would love to talk about in a second. And that is a platform that can be really, really, really beneficial to musicians, but it's also one that you have to put a lot of time into consistently. And I think that looping people in, the more people you have, I just feel like the more motivation you have. So
Definitely.
yeah, tell me how your Patreon page is going. When did you launch that, and what do you do, and what are your goals for it?
I launched in December, and I was during kind of the MX4, and so you helped me with some of that stuff too, thinking through it. And my goal is to grow grow a community that feels really authentic. I think that setting financial goals is something I still need to do around that. Um, but it is a big time commitment. So it's like balancing out, how big do I want to create this versus how much time do I want to put into this? Because um, some of the things that I do, every month I'm putting out a new song there that I'm like self-producing, because I'm also trying to learn more about production. So there's like total caveat to people that like, this is a self-produced tune that is not like a radio quality pop. But I try to do behind the scenes stuff. I think consistency is the most important thing. And I think that was the thing I've always really struggled with, having a day job, because my day job wasn't really consistent. It was pretty lumpy in terms of projects. And it was really hard for me to switch my brain back and forth, even part-time, between day job and music. So I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've worked with several musicians on their Patreon pages, and I've heard and sort of an experience myself too. In the beginning, it's harder to set the financial goals because it is a slow grow.
Yeah.
It's a long-term game that we're playing on Patreon. So one thing that is really fun, I think there's an oil truck backing into my driveway, which is beeping loudly. I like the goals of the number of
Yes.
patrons. That's the word. Because then you're not putting the financial pressure on the page, which
Yeah.
I love this from um, Big Love. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. What's her name?
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Thank you. I love her book. In her book, Big Love, she says, take the pressure off your art.
Yeah.
Like go get a part-time barista job or something like that. And like she really praised that. And that's always something that I really loved about having part-time work that wasn't in the music industry. Like I was a personal trainer, I was a bouncer, I did like all these random jobs, and none of them felt like they took away from the music. And I think that allowed me to let the music be what it is and to find my voice in it. And I think that's the same thing for your Patreon page, is like finding what's landing, what's working, what's getting clicked on, and not putting the financial pressure on it initially. So that all being said, I feel like you're doing a really good job with that. And so maybe it's not a financial goal that you create right now on this podcast with me. Maybe it's a number of
Yeah.
uh, patrons that you can work on getting.
So the next milestone is 50. I'm at 20 now. And
By when?
oof,
Email me in my specificity.
I know. So by mid-June,
Okay, great.
making that
And
too.
your Patreon page is patreon.com/Leslie Barth,
It is, yeah.
which all of these links that we're mentioning, by the way, will be in the show notes on this page, which I announce at the end. So, go follow someone who's doing it for real and doing a good job at it. And I mean, 25 from December, that's like great.
Not around 20, I think, right now. But yeah, it's been, and I really like, I was talking to my friend Shannon Soderlund. She's my accountability partner, and she's in the band Punch the Sun. And I was talking to her about Patreon, and I did a big push at the outset, like before the holidays, and then I have not promoted it at all since then. I've engaged with the community, and I've like developed some consistencies and patterns, and just started last week a Facebook group, because Patreon is like an engagement platform, isn't awesome. And some of the people on there were like, this is confusing. And so I think that most of them are on Facebook, and the ability to go live directly was a really nice feature. So that's something I'd think about if anybody's starting one up. But yeah, I definitely sort of stopped promoting it for a while, and it's hard to get back to doing it, especially when when there is like financial pressure on me now. I don't want to put it on the page. I think you're right that it's like not about the art, and I'm going to probably pick up some temp work to just sort of not freak out too much about money. But
Yeah. And I think you have an opportunity with your email list too, because I know you're touring, and that's a great way to grow your email list. And that is something that you can also be growing on social, is just focus on the Patreon and the email list. I'd almost say the email list more, because then in the email list, you have a really designated audience to talk about the Patreon. I would give you a challenge for the next month to send one email a week to your list, to keep them posted on this, how you're feeling about the job.
Yeah,
because that's interesting.
It is. So on that line, like in that line of thought, I've been recording myself, just talking about this like day to day, and not every day. It's a little inconsistent, but I am toying around with the idea of like making it a bit of a, I guess, like podcast. I don't know if audiobook is a better format or something, but just what that kind of day-to-day experience is like when you've just quit your job. Because I think there's a lot of great stuff out there about like the before, and like how to prepare for that jump, and then like what the success looks like. But there's like this weird middle gray area that I am very much swimming in.
I love that you're creating fantastic content, and it's personal and it's real, obviously, because your whole thing is real. And the little brainstorming hamster in my head is like going bananas right now, because it's got all these ideas. But what could be cool is if you take, I don't know, how long are these? Are you talking for like 3 minutes or 2 minutes?
They're like 10 to 15.
Yeah. So if you had these, and they're just audio files.
Yeah, they're voice memos. I was like, this needs to be a frictionless process so that I can do it.
Frictionless process. Oh, I love that. I'm stealing frictionless processes. That could be a reward for the $5 or $10 Patreon. And what you could do is you could start like, you could email your whole list and put it on social, and you could do a 30-second clip or somewhere where you're about to say, and then I felt, and then just cut it off, and put it in a record scratch, do a little like quick editing thing. And then want to hear the rest of the story because it's good, you get access to all
I
of
love
these.
it. That's great. Yeah.
Like just, it would take, it's not frictionless because you have to do a little editing there, but that could be a real fun thing.
Yeah.
Especially if your mailing list, once you send this, like, I quit my job, I don't know how I feel, but I'm recording every day how I feel, and I'll keep you posted. And then, maybe not once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, whatever feels good for your list. Be like, here's the update. And And I wouldn't be afraid to just, the next 3 to 4 weeks, share about how you feel about quitting the job, share about Patreon, like in every conversation. And it can be like a PS, right? It's like, and the reason I quit my job is because I know that I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, click here to show me that you believe in me too. By the way, that would make me feel really good. I would feel warm and fuzzy inside, which I have not been feeling for 7 days or whatever. Like, you can be like, you're adorable with your communications and your posts, and you're very real about it. But that might
Yeah.
be, you have tons of content. That's awesome content, and it's intimate, and that's the stuff that people pay for on Instagram. And yes, later, like after you release it to your people on Patreon, like maybe delay it, you can make it into a podcast later, because I don't want to say only use it for Patreon, but I feel like you could utilize it for Patreon first and then go to a podcast. So I love this idea that like creating content, a frictionless system, or whatever you said, frictionless
process, I think.
Process, is what can you do to create great content that's going to provide value for so many people that want to get to know you as a musician, people that are going through the same thing. Like, let me know when you launch it publicly, or people, if you want to hear it, you got to go to her Patreon page. See, I'm already doing it. I'm already promoting
it.
I just love it so much.
It's really fun for me because I am somebody that I didn't always used to be this way. I used to be somebody who would process things by writing them. Like, I had a journal and everything. And now I've realized I really process by talking things through. And so I'll just, I'll wait till like my husband's out somewhere and I'll just pick up my phone and I'll just start talking. And I don't know, it's like therapy, maybe a little bit / like business coaching for myself. So
great. Love it. I love all those things. I'm a like twice a year journaler. Like, when I get so pent up inside and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't written in my journal in a while. I have this one journal that I've had since 1999, I think. And it's because I only write like a couple pages a couple times a year. And I also realized that writing is very helpful, but I'm a talker, and that is a way of release. And it's a whole nother conversation, but
and it's the relational thing that you get from that you don't always get from writing.
Yeah, exactly. And the thought process and the writing takes a little longer. By the time you have a thought, if you're handwriting, which I think I like doing handwriting things. But I want to make sure people can hear some of your music. So do you have a song that we can play at the end of this?
Yeah, I do. It's called Green Hearts, and it's the title track off of the album I put out last year. It's an album about young love, and it's sort of from the first track to the end, kind of narrates a bit of the arc of young love. So
I love that. So is this the album that you also did an acoustic version, stripped down version?
Yeah.
So are we going to be hearing the stripped down version or the full version?
The full version.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I am so excited for you. Congratulations. I can't wait to hear this song and to keep following you. And I'm going to go check out your Patreon page and all this stuff. It's really exciting. So lesliebarth.com, everybody. And all these links will be on the show's page. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me and for the help along the way.
Of course.
Do you remember the way it was? How gray it was? What day it was? 'Cause I remember every cloud. Well, silence has never felt so loud. Do you remember the lines we fed? How you turned me red with the things you said? 'Cause I remember every word just as clearly as they were heard. And now we sit in different rooms, doing the things we always do. The only difference is the silence that has come between us, and though we know what silence tends to do. Green hearts never
Please don't forget to rate, like, and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and YouTube if you like this podcast. Musicians like you keep me inspired and motivated, and for doing that, I'm offering you access to my 7-day challenge, which takes only a half an hour a day and helps you develop a complete set of positive habits for how you work at your career, from goal setting to finances to branding. Get access at inthekey.co/7day challenge. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Key Conversations. The theme song on this podcast was provided by yours truly. If you're interested to find out more about my composing and songwriting projects, go to inthekey.co/Cheryl. If you're a musician looking to get some real results for your music career, then head to inthekey.co/results, where I've created a bunch of different kinds of resources just for you. Key Conversations is sponsored in part by Bandzoogle. They make it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Their step-by-step system gets you online in minutes, and you can choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes and customize them with their point-and-click editor. All of the features you can imagine for a possible website are built in. So, because you're a Key Conversations podcast listener, you get a special month free trial plus 15% off if you do decide to sign up. Just for you. Go to inthekey.co/make-a-site to get the offer.
It was, what day it was.